Good evening, everyone. Mike Vukovcan here with another edition of Pitt Panther Talk. We're doing it outside today. It's too nice to be in the basement. I spend too much time there as it is, so we're going to take advantage of this nice weather out here. We're going to do it outside on the patio. And we're going to talk a little, mostly Pitt hoops. A lot going on, especially today, probably in the near future. But we're going to start off today talking about our lead story as far as the story that got the most traffic today was with JaDun Michael. And it's drawn a lot of opinion from Pitt fans, as stuff like this normally does, either on Twitter or Facebook. And I'm going to try to give you a little background of what happened here. He ended up committing to Elon College. He was originally, JaDun Michael is a 2020 four-star wing from North Carolina. That's the background. He was committed to Wichita State. He got out of his commitment, wanted to be a place closer to home. You can't be closer than Elon College, which is 10 to 15 minutes from his house. So Pitt did talk to him, and the reaction that a percentage of Pitt fans are upset because they see that Pitt talked to him, then he commits to obviously a lower program, and they think Pitt got rejected. That is not the case. Just because you speak with a guy doesn't mean that you're 100% totally invested in him. This is not a knock on JaDun Michael. Jeff Capel and Jayden Capel, who, by the way, was the Pitt coach that spoke to him twice. Jeff Capel never spoke to him personally. They investigated the guy. When a player like that, he's obviously talented. When a player like that becomes available, you know, a lot of teams did their investigation on him, and a lot of them probably also got the sense that he wanted to really stay close to home. I think the crystal ball forecast was him going to NC State, which is obviously close, but he didn't. This is not a knock against Jeff Capel. This is not a knock against Pitt. In fact, probably one of the reasons why Pitt wasn't, I don't believe, totally invested in him, meaning that they never actually offered him a scholarship to play at Pitt, was the fact that there's a guy out there that really intrigues Jeff Capel a lot more, and that's Trey Murphy. He's a guy that, as we've been reporting since it happened, he's a transfer from Rice. He's a 6'8" wing. And by the way, that is Pitt's number one need right now. They need explosive wings that can get to the hoop, but also shoot from the outside. And half of that is what Murphy is. Alan Saunders, I was speaking to him this morning. He was watching some video of him, and he made a great comparison. Trey Murphy is Cam Johnson. 6'8", and he can shoot over people, and he can fill out from the outside, which is exactly what Pitt needs, and that is why he is a guy that has a committable offer from Pitt. And if he chooses to come to Pitt, it would be a huge upgrade. So that's the thing. They were talking to him. They talked to the kid that went back to Dartmouth as a possibility. I don't know that he actually had an offer to join them. Trey Murphy, make no mistake about it, he's the guy that Pitt wants. They want him to use one of the remaining two scholarships on for him to come to Pitt. The other guy is William Jeffers, as we continue to report. I think that's going to come to a head here within the next few weeks. Players are able to sign now, starting in April 15th. I talked to his dad today, or exchanged messages with his dad today, and he's a teacher, so he's trying to do his online courses with his students, but also he's trying to handle his son's recruiting, and he said his phone has never blown up as much as it has as far as interests from colleges. And as we've reported, he can't make any visits. Obviously, nobody can. So he's doing all his virtual tours with these colleges. And I'll continue to say, I think, despite all the interest he's getting, partly probably the current situation is going to benefit Pitt, but I think he was a lean toward Pitt to begin with. So my first prediction of here, if you want to know who I believe are going to fill Pitt's remaining 2 scholarships for the class of 2020, I think it's going to end up being Trey Murphy and Will Jeffers. So we'll see what happens. But if that does end up happening, I think that's tremendous from Pitt. You're getting 2 players at a position that they really need scores at wings. And if you want to know the difference between the 2 players, Jeffers is more of an explosive athlete than Trey Murphy is. Trey Murphy's game is a lot on the perimeter. Jeffers is explosive in transition, and he also can beat his guy off the dribble and get to the hoop. He's not as accomplished an outside shooter as Murphy is yet, but it wouldn't shock me by the time a year or 2 from now Jeffers develops that in his game. Remember, he's only 16 years old, so he's a junior in high school. So he's going to be a good one, and I think he's going to be a good one at Pitt. So we'll see what happens with that. But those are my 2 guys that I think it's going to happen for Pitt, and this is important because I'm trying to look for some 2021 leads, and I'm told that Pitt really can't map out their 2021 list, or as far as needs and targets, until 2020 is done. They need to know whether or not they're going to get Jeffers and who this the other scholarship's going to go to, before they really go all in on trying to land 2020 or 2021 guys. I think you know what I'm saying there. They need to finish that first before they, because if they add 2 more wings with the guys they already have, you might go off there, and you might want to. They're probably going to start looking for a point guard to replace Xavier Johnson. You're also going to look for more bigs. You might be done with wings for a little bit because you're bringing in a few. If all things work out, you're going to bring in Murphy, you're going to bring in Jeffers, you're going to bring in Noah Collier from last year. You still have Champagne. So I think they might be set there for a little bit, and you might want to move to other places. So just keep that in mind. You're not hearing a lot of 21 news until 20 gets done. Couple things, other basketball notes here. Tim O'Toole, as it was brought up by a national website, he was listed as a candidate for the Fordham job. For I'm hearing that the best way to probably characterize that is he's a long shot. I think he's on the list. He has some ties to the school, having been there before, maybe having known some people close within that university. But I wouldn't look for Tim O'Toole to be leaving Pitt. What else do I have here on the list? Did an interview today. Enjoyed talking with, and this will be on the site tomorrow. I'm going to put the full interview up. Instead of me writing a story, I'm just going to put the Q&A up tomorrow. I talked with, as I just mentioned his name, Justin Champagne. He's back in New York working out. Had a good talk with him today. Talked about last season. Did he surprise himself? What went right? Asked him about a message Jeff Capel had for him after the season. I think it was an interesting answer when I asked him what thing he's working on this offseason to improve for next year. And he also talked about the expectations for next year's team, and he has big ones. So I think you'll enjoy that tomorrow. I'm going to work on that a little bit later tonight, but that'll be coming up tomorrow on the site. One other thing I wanted to bring up, and this also drew some reaction. I like to bring up stories that I see people react to, and I necessarily can't express myself, because sometimes if I do, I get in trouble on Twitter, either from either from Alan slapping my hand or my wife yelling at me for having a loud mouth. So I'll just do it here. Some people questioning Javon Bullard as far as him listing Pitt in his top 12, and asking us why we covered it, why that's a story. It's a long shot, slow news day and stuff. Number one, it's not a slow news day. He's a talented player. He had a lot of offers. He brought up Pitt as one of his finalists. Why wouldn't that be? We report on kids when they get an offer from Pitt. So when you have 20 plus offers and you narrow it down and Pitt still is in there, why not? And I wouldn't characterize him as being a long shot to come to Pitt. By no means am I going to say he's Pitt's a favorite, but I talked to him on the phone as well today, and you can tell a kid when he's authentic and when he's talking to you, and whether or not there might be BS in him as far as what he's saying about a school or about a program or about coaches. Nothing he said today regarding the Pitt coaches and what he likes about them and the relationship he has with them is BS. Trust me. Don't know if he's going to go to Pitt, but it's a good thing that he knows that one of his 5 official visits is going to be to Pitt sometime, whenever the world gets back to normal. He's going to be here hopefully in June. That's when his visit is set up. So if you only get 5 official visits and this kid plans on making one of them to Pitt, I think that's a good sign for Pitt. And that goes along with not being a stretch news story, as somebody referred to us today. Trust me, we're working as hard as we can. It is not easy to be out here trying to fill up a website every day with sports content when there's no sports going on. So you can characterize it as stretch or fill or whatever you want to do it. We're doing our best for you, and we hope you appreciate it. And by the way, we want to thank you. This past week, by the way, our traffic week runs from, we characterize it from Monday, starting today, up until next Sunday. Despite not having a whole heck of a lot going on, our traffic last week was our best since the last week in January or the first week of February, one of those two, which is our best traffic in 2 months. And that's incredible. We thank you for it. We're working hard to try to put stories out for you, and hopefully you are reading them, which you did last week, and hope you'll do that again. One other thing, if you aren't signed up for, I don't go out and solicit this very often, but if you aren't a member of Die Hard, we appreciate if you'd consider joining it for us. It's one of our sources of revenue here on Pittsburgh Sports Now. $3 a month, $3.99 a month. I believe that comes to $40-some a year. We try to give you some insight into what's happening, either on the forum. We're making a lot more stories, Die Hard, but it's also just, there's a lot of talk these days about supporting local business. If you did that with us, being a Die Hard or continuing to be a Die Hard is one way to do that, and everyone here at the website would appreciate it a lot. So remember, stay tuned tomorrow. We're going to have, as I mentioned, Champagne interview. Alan's working on some stuff. Also got a story on a Robert Morris offer, and I want to thank Keith Dambrot today for taking the time to do what is it, Ryan? What would you call it? A FaceTime interview with me from his home. Keith Dambrot is one of my favorite people in the business, and I appreciate him doing that. We're going to be trying to do more of that in the future. But until next time, thanks for tuning in here on Pittsburgh Sports Now.